Hello and welcome back to the Lincoln Loco 2. Today, must-win games against Leicester and Burnley. We've got international break in between, so we've got quite a bit of time in between the two games to talk about a few things. But Burnley and Leicester await, and we need to be picking up 6 points if we want to keep our Europa League chances alive. Since we were last here, after we lost to Man United but beat Stoke, straight away we got hammered by Tottenham. We actually took the lead through Vinicius Jr. However, Tottenham came back and scored 4 goals. The rest sort of in history now, so we forget about that one too much. But afterwards, we had a big win away from home against Derby with Franco Marquez scoring in the 45th minute. Following the Derby game, we had a game against Man City, and in 5 games against Man City, we've not lost to them. This time, though, we did lose to them. We actually took the lead through Michael Pomeroy, but in the second half, they scored 2 goals, and that was that. Their first win against us in 6 games. So fair play, City. You deserve that win after we've beaten you. I think we've beaten them twice and drawn 3 times. So to lose was probably overdue, to be fair, but fair play. We'll accept that. After that, though, we had some good games. We had a 2-1 win over Sunderland with Vinicius Jr. and Patrick getting on the score sheet. And then last time out, a massive 1-0 win against West Brom, who are also vying with us for a Europa League spot. Vinicius Jr. scoring in the 35th minute there, taking his goal tally up to 10 goals this season. He's actually just signed a contract renewal on 15k per week less than he was on. So that's really good for us. He's had a fantastic season, I've got to say. Really, really top quality season. I'm so pleased we managed to sign him. I was thinking perhaps he's not the best player for us, but he's performed consistently this season. He's worth having around. What it means for the table is that we sit 8th right now, a single point behind Aston Villa and 3 points behind Manchester United in 6th. United have sort of capitalised on us losing 2 games to Tottenham and Man City, who are doing quite well themselves. City competing for the title, Tottenham competing for the Champions League. Chelsea have won the Carabao Cup, which means that they've got the Europa League spot. So if they finish in the top 4, that's good for us. If they finish 5th, that's good for us. It means a spot goes to either 6th or 7th place. Well, actually goes to 6th place, doesn't it? Depends. If whoever wins the FA Cup, then it goes to 7th place as well, potentially, depending on who wins the FA Cup, of course. But it does mean there's actually an extra Europa League spot. So top 6 is where we want to be, and we are on the cusp of it right now. Fingers crossed we can break past Villa and United and get into 6th or 7th, and that would be really good. In terms of the FA Cup, there's still quite a few teams left in it, including some teams around us that could be taking away a Europa League spot. So we're hoping that either, well, I'd say City, Arsenal or Spurs go on to win it. Any other team that goes on to win it isn't good for us. Either way, this is today's lineup for the game against Leicester. We've got Solinka in goal as per usual, with a backline of Mirza, Brullinger, Juliano and Jimenez. I said Mirza first. I meant to say Jimenez first. I got very confused then, but no. Jimenez, Brullinger, Juliano, Mirza, Venturelli, Prosser and Patrick in the middle of the park with Vinicius Jr. and Marquez on the wings and Pomeroy leading the line, of course. Willem he only had an injury recently, so that's why he's not been playing recently. And he had his injury, came back, but these two have been playing pretty well in the past 2 games, so I've not wanted to swap them around too much. I think someone else was injured. Vinicius Jr. was injured for a little bit, actually. Vinicius Jr. was injured for a little bit. Luke Carr came in for a couple of games, but Vinicius Jr. has cemented himself back into the starting lineup. That's all the news I need to tell you about really in between episodes. Not really too much going on. We just need to make sure we beat Leicester today. We lost to them in the FA Cup 3rd round not long ago, but they are 19th in the table. On paper, this is a good win for us, but as the FA Cup proved, we can't rely on it too much as they come pretty close to getting a good chance early on in today's game. I'll tell you what, actually, I'm pretty pleased with how we've done this season. Even if we don't get Europa League football, we have made leaps and bounds from last season. We said this season we want to be between 50 and 60 points, and right now we're on 53 points. And after this game, we've got 5 games left or something like that. So it's not long, not 5 games, 7 games left, obviously, after this one. So we're doing very, very well. I'm really pleased with the way we've been playing. And Pomeroy's been put forward by Vinicius Jr. Pomeroy can't give us the lead. He's just not been as clinical this season as he was last season. And Marquez hasn't quite contributed to the amount of goals. I say this, Marquez has been on the wing all season rather than being up front rather than Pomeroy. So actually Marquez has done very well with his goal contribution. But Pomeroy just not quite being as in form as I hoped he was going to be this season. After, of course, last season was phenomenal for him. 20 goals or so. That was really good. This season he's barely got half of that. He's got a bit of time left for the season, obviously, to get some goals, but he's not going to get him a 20, especially with finishing like we've seen already. But Pomeroy, again, finishing is letting him down. And really, we've got to maybe think, if we want to be breaking into the top 7 next season, we'll need a 20-goal-a-season striker. And if we're in the Europa League, we're going to need a striker that's going to be bagging the goals for us. So that could be part of our shopping list for next, along with a whole host of positions and players really on our shopping list for summer. Sorry, there's a big jump there. I tried to say that Pomeroy has to keep working hard to keep his position in the team, but really I just messed it up and it didn't work out very well. But that was a great dummy. I think it could have been a dummy. I think actually it came off the defender. We'll see on the replay. Either way, Franco Marquez grabs his 8th goal of the season there. There's been no assist given to that, so I think it must have come off a Leicester defender as Vinicius Junior comes forward, plays it into Pomeroy. I think he just goes all the way through. It must come off a Leicester defender there because there's no assist given for Franco Marquez's goal. But Marquez puts it in at the far post. We're 1-0 up in today's game, which is the best position to be in. And temporarily we go ahead of Aston Villa. However, Aston Villa have still got to play a game as Marquez looks to make it to his header hitting the post from Brullinger's free kick there. Wonderful bit of teamwork. We are looking a bit more clinical now, especially now Pomeroy's not on the picture. Perhaps we take him off later on and see what happens as Leicester come pretty close. Pomeroy did have that bit of form right in the middle of the season where he got 4 goals in one game, didn't he? And actually that's provided 40% of his goals this season, that one game. So that kind of shows how poor he may have been this season. I think actually going to the second half, we swap him and Marquez over, and then we swap Vinicius Junior over to the right, and we bring Luke Carr on the left-hand side. Perhaps that's maybe how we look to finish the season, where we need to be finding some goals from somewhere, and an out-of-form Pomeroy is not where we're getting goals from. Throw in for us then, and Jimenez retains possession as he looks to try and get it a little bit more central. Under pressure, Luke Prosser there gets rid of it to Brullinger, and Brullinger puts a great ball across to Marquez, who heads it into the box. Collected by the defender, though, unfortunately. But we do retain possession. The clearance wasn't very good. Pomeroy, who we're thinking about replacing, gets on the end of the ball there and nearly puts it in the back of the net. This time, plays it across to Marquez. He's done very well there to keep hold of the ball and get it back to Marquez. We've not scored there. That's probably what the highlight was going to be for. Great little move for us, though. Somehow it's not ended up in the back of the net. His average rating's not improving, though. So I feel like now is the time. Marquez up front. Vinicius Junior on the right. Luke Carr is going to come on the left-hand side of the pitch. Although, actually, we've got Abel, haven't we? No, I reckon we leave Vinicius Junior there and we bring Abel on. Let's give Abel a chance. He's not really had much chance to show himself this season. I think he's going to be a player that we're going to try and sell this summer. I've just not been impressed with him, basically. He came with a lot of potential, but his average... I'll show you his bio or his history in a minute. He's just not played well at all the past 3 seasons. We will keep him until we sign someone better, because otherwise I don't want to come to the season without a right winger. So we'll keep him until we sign someone else in summer. But I think right wing is going to be a massive priority for me come the summer transfer window. Still only 1 goal in it though, and it can all change in the final 5 minutes of a game, as we've seen plenty of times before. Abel on the ball now, number 7, into William, who puts it across to Mirza in a lot of space to put the cross in. Marquez looking for a second goal of the game, gets it. And maybe we should be starting Franco Marquez up front. One of them has come whilst he's playing as a striker, and we've already seen him being more clinical up front than Pomeroy. Maybe Marquez, we've just played him out position too much this season. I think for the next few games, he's our man up front. We're back into 7th, but only temporarily, because Villa have still got to play. United have still got to play. I mean, Tottenham and Chelsea have got 2 games in hand on us and things like that, but they're out the way now. We can't worry about them too much. Right. We go through the rest of the weekend, then we've got international break, and then hopefully we'll see ourselves beating Burnley and stake ourselves in the top 7. Actually, we're not going to see how Man United get on because they've just beaten Arsenal in the FA Cup, which isn't brilliant for us because that means Arsenal are now knocked out of the FA Cup, and it means that ideally we want Tottenham or Manchester City to win it now, so there's less chance of a favourable outcome in the FA Cup for us for a 7th place Europa League finish. I hate it when it's not in our hands, but it is quite exciting at the same time. I hope we don't get many injuries on international break. I believe actually 2 of the players are youth players of ours that are playing for, like Northern Ireland under 12s or something like that. Out of players in the first team, Ransford Narty, Mirza, and where is he? Howard Prosser are all on international duty. So nothing too major for us, although actually currently only 4 players, so it will go up to 6 players at some point soon. According to this, we are going to be missing 2 players for the Burnley game. I'm assuming that they're probably going to be youth players as opposed to first team. I hope they are at least. Of course, Sebastian Salinkia, he's obviously playing for Poland, which is good. And Thomas Christiansen, who's away on loan, he's been getting on alright actually on loan away from where we are. However, I still think we're going to sell him just because we've got quality in Vinicius Junior on the right hand side, and Christensen doesn't really add anything to it, and he's valued nearly 20 million now, so it seemed like a good time for him to go. Really, with a year left on his contract as well, we need to get rid of him. But saying that, he's had good games at Young Boys. He's played well. Maybe he comes in as our backup, and actually we try and sell Jason Rendell instead, who's not had anything to do this season, really. Right, coming up to this Burnley game then. Marquez, I want you up front, and we're going to move Pomeroy onto the bench for Abel. So that's what we're going to do. Jose Pedro comes back onto the bench because, where is he down here? Ransford Narthy's still on international duty. These two are injured, so it makes sense to put Jose Pedro back on the bench. But that's the only change that I'm planning on making. So hopefully it works out. Right then, kickoff is upon us here today. We're at home. But Burnley, although they're down near the relegation zone, being at home against them this late on in the season doesn't matter too much. They're going to be desperate to get some wins to move away from that relegation zone. So we need to be on top form here today. Aston Villa, we've gone ahead of Man United. They've not started playing their game yet. But of course, after this, they'll have 2 games in hand on us. So we can't really rely on this. We've got to make sure, well, I say we've got to make sure. We've got to hope that Villa lose their game to Liverpool, who have really marched up the table recently, up to 3rd place now. And Vinicius Junior has been booked. We need to tell him to hold off tackles. Burnley are being the side on top, actually, as it stands right now. But Abel's corner coming in, cleared, but only as far as Juliano. Back to Venturelli. Brullinger, can he get it out wide again? No, he plays it into Vinicius Junior. Marquez shoots. Cleared. And now Burnley looking to come on a counter-attack, although we're keeping the high press going. And we win the possession back. Patrick into Prosser. Oh, the ball to Vinicius Junior was nearly perfect. And Burnley once again looking to come forward. Although they've not got many options coming forward, and Patrick can get the tackle in there, and we regain the possession. Building from the back, Abel, who's not had many starts in recent weeks, puts a great ball to Marquez, who's tackled from behind. I thought I was about to jump up in celebration there, but Marquez didn't get his shot away, and that was a superb last-ditch challenge from the Burnley man. Got to say, I'm a little bit nervous, actually. Burnley are playing better than us, although Marquez is in behind again. And this time, he makes sure he gets his 10th goal of the season. And really, today's episode is just highlighting that maybe I've been very naive not playing Pomeroy up front, or not playing Marquez up front all season, trying to stick with Pomeroy. The thing is, Pomeroy, we know, is a proven goal scorer in this league. He got 20 last season. But I've probably just left it too late, haven't I? I've left it too late with this season to really think about switching them round. They've both played very well. Obviously, they're both on 10 goals now, so that's quite good. Obviously, we're getting 10 goals from each winger and the striker. Ideally, though, we want 10 goals from each winger and 20 goals from our striker. And maybe that's where Marquez should have been playing all season up front. Well, we can't really dwell on it too much right now. As we come to half-time, we're beating Burnley, but Villa are drawing with Liverpool, which is, I mean, that's good for us. As long as they're drawing, we will go 3 points ahead of them still in 6th position, which is good. We'll be 3 points ahead of United if we win today. That's also good, and it gives us the best chance possible of United not overtaking us. Jefferson Brullinger's free kick then decides to play it backwards to Patrick and puts the ball forward, and I don't really know what we're trying to do with that, and Burnley are now on the counter-attack. And now their man's through. And Burnley have not managed to score, thankfully. I mean, you'd hope, actually, you've got to say, you'd hope. Considering they're 17th, you would hope that their strikers are abysmal. And that kind of proves that they are, because they didn't score that when really they should have done. And we need to maybe just, I want to say go a bit more defensive, but I don't really want to, because we can't afford to sit back against Burnley because they could score a goal and that would ruin it for us. We have to get 1 or 2 more goals. Vinicius Junior not playing his very best today and is also on a yellow card, so Luke Carr is going to come on for him, the man on loan, who was meant to be our first choice left winger, but clearly hasn't been because Vinicius Junior has been so good all season. So, I mean, it's been a nice headache to have, definitely. And then Abel, Abel's played pretty well on a 7.2 actually, so we'll leave him on the pitch. I think actually that's the only change I'm going to make for now. I might change one in 20 minutes or so, not 20 minutes, 10 minutes or so. But I don't want to change the balance of a team too much because we are playing well and I don't want to upset it, especially when we're leading by the narrowest of margins. Looks like Aston Villa are still drawing because they're still on 55 points by looks of things. They're still drawing 1-1. We're still winning. And as long as we can hold on for the next 5 minutes, today's episode will be a great success as we pick up 6 points in today's episode, which is what we want, really. We can't ask for much more than that, really, can we? As I may have spoken too soon. We've got a chance now. If we score one now, I'll be very happy. As Jimenez shoots, gets his first goal of the season. What a goal that was. Helps out with our goal difference as well. And 100% confirms the victory against Burnley. You'll love to see it. Oh, did I speak too soon? Because there's another highlight now. We're coming forward, actually. But, of course, there can still be a counter-attack as Luke Carr can't quite get on the end of the ball. Jimenez looking for his second. Gets to the crosser to Patrick. Patrick shoots. Hits the post. Marquez can't quite get there. We nearly had a third at the end there. I thought it could have been a highlight for Burnley, and that would have been awful. To be fair, towards the end of this game, we have played brilliantly. Really well at the end of this game. Finally, the whistle goes to full time. A 2-0 win. Fantastic stuff. 6 points in today's episode. We're back up into 6th position in the league, which is where we want to be. We'll watch out for the Man United results after this. But then, it all comes down to the final episode of this season. If we're going to get Europa League football. Unfortunately, United went on to win 3-0 against Swansea, so they go back ahead of us on goal difference with a game in hand on us. So at this stage, we need Tottenham to slip up massively with 2 games in hand on us and United to slip up with a game in hand. We need them to lose all their games, basically, which probably won't happen. So right now, our best chance of Europa League football is coming 7th, I would say. And that relies on teams above us winning the FA Cup, basically. That's what we need to rely on. So if any of these teams want to win it in the FA Cup, so who have we got left in the FA Cup? Because actually it doesn't matter if you're not United against City, Tottenham v Stoke. So actually, as long as Stoke don't win it, that's fine by us. Because United, Tottenham and City are all ahead of us. And actually, if they stay ahead of us in the top 6, then that's fine. As long as a team below 7th doesn't win it, and we finish 7th, we will have Europa League football. It's a little bit complicated to get my head around, and get your head around, I'm sure, as well. But that's how it stands. And that's how it stands going into the final block of games before the end of the season. So, next episode, of course, is going to be the final 2 games of the season. I think the last 2 games of the season are pretty easy games. But in between that's when it's going to get difficult, because we've got Southampton up next, which is an easy game. But then Liverpool in 3rd, Chelsea in 4th, Arsenal in 1st, before we take on Wolves and Brighton. These 3 games here, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, are going to be crucial. If we want Europa League football, we've got to pick up points in these games. Got to. I'm not sure if we will or not. So, bit of a cliffhanger, but join me tomorrow for the final episode of this season. And hopefully, we can celebrate Europa League football. So, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you then. Goodbye.